So a novel is a fictional prose narrative of considerable length, typically having a plot unfolded by the characters' actions, speech, and thoughts. So we can define a novel as a fictional prose narrative. It is a prose, not poetry, and it is narrative, which has a good amount of length. That means initially novels used to be, before the term is coined and before trending, setting some sets of rules, that was a short story. But a novel is a book which has a considerable length, typically having a plot unfolded by the character's actions. That means in the novel, any novel, story proceeded by the character's actions. There is a slow development of the action and the characters will be developing. So by speech, their action and their thoughts. Novels explore various themes and ideas and are available in genres such as mystery, romance, science fiction, fantasy, and historical fiction. These are the genres. There are so many to pen down. So you can say mystery novel, romantic novel, science fiction novel, fantasy, and historical fictions also. They are popular storytelling and entertainment, offering insight into societal, personal, and universal issues through their structured plots and developed characters. So they provide entertainment. They are the source of storytelling, which became very popular in the 18th century. And there are structured plots, development of the characters. That means writers have the chance to develop any kind of character. You can mold the character according to the situation demands. The first novel is usually credited to be Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe, which was first published in 1719 in English. Daniel Defoe's Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe is the name of the novel. Robinson Crusoe is the name of the novel, which was published in 1719. So this is the first English novel. So if we observe some of the conditions, situations, circumstances in the society, what are the factors that developed to the rise of the novel? The rise of the novel coincides with the rise of the middle classes in Western Europe. Profound social and economic changes brought the novel into popular prominence. That is, there are some factors. The very first reason is the rise of the middle class. Industrialization rapidly increased, which made middle class rich, culturally, socially, economically. So the changes came. And the middle class people started appreciating, encouraging novel writers. Early novels were dedicated to realism. And the very second reason is why they became very popular. Because middle class people is the main source of the encouragement. They started liking realism. So what is realism? Realism is not idealism. That means realism is to portray the characters, situations, story, and the conditions which are prevailed in the society as it is. There is no makeover. There is no exaggeration. There is no creativity. Creativity is there. There is no imagination. There is no imagination. So that is realism. So people started liking realism. No focus was on the experience of the The focus was on the experience of the individual as a subject matter. This is another reason. They started focusing on individual experiences. And it is also said that the first novel was credited to the speakers of, writers, early writers, some of the few anonymous writers, they started writing novels on people's narrations. It is said that some people have escaped from Europe in pandemic conditions. Recently, we have experienced into 2020, we have experienced COVID. Like that, in Europe also, late 17th century and 18th century, they faced plague. So due to the pandemic, during that period, people escaped because it was spreading like anything. So there are few survivors and they started narrating their own experiences, what they have seen, how they observed, what was the trauma they faced and all that. So people started writing based on their experiences. So individual experiences matters and mattered a lot because it caught the attention of the middle class. Not only pandemic, they started writing the struggles, experiences faced by the people who want to establish themselves in the society. Novels explored individual consciences and perception. Individual consciences. It is not the religious things which had to be described, which had to be discussed and to be written. So people started getting attracted towards realism, and individual preferences has been encouraged. Individual consensus, what is good, what is bad, what is their inner conflict, what are the ideas and the beliefs of an individual person, his or her perception has been given importance. Realism was closely linked with accuracy and a rejection of impracticality. So practicality has been encouraged, given importance, rather than impracticality, imagination, and all that. Early novelists rejected the fantastical imagination and idealism found in romances. So they rejected, novelists rejected, because people are rejected. So obviously the novelist, they have to write according to the interest and choices of the public. So they started rejecting fantastical imagination and idealism found in romances. So the people who belong to elite class, they used to adore the imagination, idealism, romances, chivalry poetry, all this. But middle class people, they denied. They want the realism. Advances in printing technology made written texts available to a growing population of readers. Printing technology is improved. So it became easy to print the books and to dissipate in the society, to transfer among the society. So people started buying books. Authors became free agents in the literary marketplace. Yes. Earlier, authors has to follow some set of rules. They have to work for a patron. But now it is not like. Who became the patrons? Middle class people became the patrons. So authors are free. They're not supposed to follow any rules, any classical or traditional writers' rules, traditions, and all that. They're free to choose any subject, whatever they want. They're free to portray any character, any subject matter, what is necessary or what may think it is interesting for the public domain. More novels began to feature middle class protagonists since the middle class was successful and rich. Because people are becoming rich. So due to the industrialization, the culture has been changed. So now they started taking the middle class successful persons as their role models. And they started writing on them, portraying the characters, circumstances, and situations. They demanded a moral code that was separate and better than what was prevailing among the poor and elite. So they demanded for a moral code. They want a separate moral code. They want the novel is to be distinguished from the classical influenced drama and poetry. So they want the better one. And that would be, which would be different from poor and elite class. And another reason is decline of drama. Because idealism is boring now. People are preferring realism. And due to the socio-political religious conditions, many of the theaters were closed. And there is a war between the groups, like Protestants, Catholics, and there are separatists, and there are Calvinists. All these people are there. So some people encouraged only religious writings. Some people encouraged the other writings also. So due to many reasons which are prevailed in that society, there is a decline of drama. So authors prefer to write novels. That too, which is free from traditional, orthodox, classical sets of rules. Socioeconomic, cultural, and philosophical conditions of the times. So there are so many reasons, as we have already discussed. Socioeconomic reasons, cultural reasons, and philosophical conditions of the times. Philosophical conditions, people started believing in individual experiences, that is individuality. And you see the previous thing also. So people started exploring societal conditions, moral codes, their dilemmas, and they started expressing their depression and disgression towards the elite class people. There are many. Culture has been changed. People are shifting their professions from, farmers. Farmers are called peasants. Peasants, the revolution was there. So these people started shifting their profession to industrial sector. So people are participating in the industrialization. They're moving from place to place. They're learning many things, scientific advancements, socioeconomics. So people are becoming rich. Middle class is growing rapidly. And these are the conditions which gave the importance to novel. Improved literacy rates. Obviously, people are rich. Industrialization came, printing technology. So obviously, there is a growth in the literacy rate. Interest of women readers in novels. So in that, during that time, 18th century, women were not able to participate in the company of men, particularly riding, hunting, okay, drinking, and roaming here and there, houses, clubs. So women readers, they started writing, and women readers has been increased. The rate, the audience, particularly women audience, the rate is increased. They are rich, they are educated. Now they started encouraging, they started criticizing, they started, liking the books. The middle class could afford books. Yes, they are rich. Printing, due to the printing press revolution, books are available. So they started buying. And some of the libraries also established, so that they used to, who are unable to buy the books, they used to take books for rent. Growth of industrialization. As we have already discussed, this is the major factor. Exploration of human emotions. They often explore individual experiences and struggles. So individuality has been given importance, and the struggle to become rich, the struggle to become or to maintain the purity, chastity, to be honest. So the struggles or the individual struggles in the society, because the society is deprived of so many things, particularly the people who are maybe who are socially deprived classes. So the struggles are also depicted clearly, and so the importance has been given, and there is an encouragement for such type of novels also. Printing advancements, social commentary. So novel acted as a social commentary, best social commentary. The socio-economical, religious, political situations which are prevailed, that means which existed during that time, were clearly portrayed, discussed, described, criticized, and some of the writers even gone to the extent to suggest some advice, to suggest some solutions also. So there are writers like Jane Austen, Daniel Defoe, Jonathan Swift, Samuel Richardson, Walter Scott, along with Henry Fielding. So next unit, unit 12, Joseph Andrews. So here we did not discuss in the 11th unit romantic poetry. Next unit we will discuss. So unit 12, Joseph Andrews by Henry Fielding. So Henry Fielding, the father of the English novel. He is often appreciated as the father of the English novel because he is the one who developed plot structure, who developed characters, and the development of the characters throughout, I mean, the transformation of the characters throughout the story. So Henry Fielding is quite popular in developing the novel. Henry Fielding was an English novelist and playwright, renowned for his rich and robust humor, satirical prowess, and pioneering contributions to developing the English novel. Born on 22nd April 1707 in Sharpham Park, Somerset, England. So he born in England. Fielding was the son of Lieutenant General Edmund Fielding and his wife Sarah Galt. Fielding received a classical education at Eton College, where he developed a strong foundation in literature and the classics. Turning to law, Fielding studied at the University of Leiden and was called to the bar in 1740. So he was a lawyer also. Fielding is best known for his novels Joseph Andrews, Tom Jones. Tom Jones being the one of the quite popular novel in the world, even today also. And Amy. Yeah. Fielding's contributions extended beyond literature. He also played a significant role in law enforcement. In 1748, he was appointed as a magistrate for Westminster and later for Middlesex. He and his half-brother, John Fielding, helped establish the Bow Street Runners, an early form of the modern police force, which earned him the nickname the founder of the first English police force. So being the magistrate, he developed that army. Later, it became one of the main force of police in Britain. Fielding's health deteriorated in the early 1750s, prompting a journey to Portugal in search of a cure. Unfortunately, his condition worsened and he died on October 8, 1754 in Lisbon. Henry Fielding's legacy endures through his influential works, which continue to be celebrated for their narrative innovation, satirical brilliance, and profound impact on the development of the English novel. So here comes our novel, Joseph Andrews. Joseph. Joseph is a biblical character. So before going into this, let us observe Joseph's character. Joseph in the Bible, it's a biblical character. Joseph is a son of Jacob, a favorite son of Jacob. So because he is very fond of, his father is fond of Joseph. So his brothers got jealous. So his brothers kidnaps Joseph and they sell Joseph to some some merchants. And the merchants take Joseph as a slave to Egypt. And there, Joseph had to face many struggles. Even he was imprisoned for some time because one of his master's wife wants to seduce Joseph, but Joseph is reluctant to her force enforcement. And so she lies and makes Joseph to be imprisoned. And later he comes and he works in the court of Pharaoh. And Joseph was gifted with a reasoning, and he used to talk to God directly, and he has the gift of saying meanings to dreams. So that helped him a lot, and he reveals the meanings of the dreams of Pharaoh, and he becomes the next person in power and authority to Pharaoh in Egypt, like a prime minister. So that is a brief story of Joseph. So here, Joseph in the novel is virtuous, is honest, he is suffered, struggled, he made to struggle. And Andrew is the meaning. Andrew is a man. So now, Joseph Andrews, fully titled, the complete title of the book is The History of the Adventures of Joseph Andrews and His Friend, Mr. Abraham Adams. Is a novel by Henry Fielding, published in 1742. So this is the full title. It is considered one of the earliest novels in the English language and is notable for its satirical and comedic style. So it is a satire on the society, how people are behaving. Particularly in this novel, Joseph Andrews is the protagonist and another lady character, she is the antagonist. That means the anti-hero, villain. The novel follows the adventures of Joseph Andrews, a good-natured and virtuous young man, and his friend, the parson Abraham Adams, as they journey through the English countryside. So Joseph Andrews, the protagonist, Joseph Andrews, is the titular character, a handsome, virtuous, and good-natured young man. He works as a footman for Lady Booby. So what happens is actually the secret is revealed at the end of the novel that this Joseph Andrews and the heroine as well, they both of them belong to very rich family. But due to the circumstances, they were separated from the family and they had to suffer and they had to work as they have to do minimal jobs. So this Joseph Andrews is a very good man, young man, and he works as a footman. You know, footman who works for rich ladies or men who would be taking care of their masters to getting into the chariot and getting down and to look after like an attendant. So he's a footman. Virtue and integrity. Joseph is known for his steadfast virtue, particularly his commitment to chastity and his love for Fanny Goodwill. She is the heroine, his lover. His resistance to Lady Booby's advances and his exemplify his moral integrity. So this Lady Booby, his mistress, so she wants to seduce Joseph. Joseph is a very good, young and handsome, good-looking man. So she wants to take the advantage, but he is reluctant. Adventures. Throughout the novel, Joseph faces various trials and tribulations, including being attacked by robbers, encountering a series of colorful characters, and overcoming obstacles to be with Fanny. So, characters, the main characters, Lady Boob, villain, a wealthy, high-born widow, she's a widow, who employs Joseph as a footman. She becomes infatuated with him and attempts to seduce him, embedding the vices and hypocrisies of the upper class. So if Joseph wants, he too can take the advantage to become rich, but he did not. So that's why she got anger and she removes Joseph Andrews from job. So Mr. Wilson role. So he is reformed rake. Means in the past he committed some mistakes and later he repents. A gentleman who shares his life story with Joseph and Parson Adams. So Joseph and Parson Adams meet this person in their journey, illustrating the possibility of redemption and the value of leading a virtuous life. He is eventually revealed to be Joseph's father in the last part of the story. So Mrs. Slipslop role, she's a comic character and she's a servant at Lady Booby's house. So this lady is also is attracted towards Joseph. And her main, she is described as an exaggerated use of language. She continuously would be talking and she is also infatuated with Joseph. So Joseph Andrews, as just we have gone through, is a handsome, virtuous and good-natured young man who works as a footman. And he is in love with Fanny Goodwill. Second important character in the title also, next to Joseph Andrews, is Parson Abraham Adams. So he's Joseph's mentor and friend. So he's a religious person, a kind-hearted, naive, and naive means inexperienced, and slightly eccentric clergyman accompanying Joseph on his journey. He provides comic relief and embodies Christian charity and moral integrity. He's good, he follows all the good things and he deeds all the good things, but sometimes the deeds and the works of this Parson Adams evokes some mirth, comedy, because he is not experienced in day-to-day life and whatever the circumstances. Fanny Goodwill role. She's Joseph's love interest. Description, a beautiful, virtuous, and humble young woman from the same village as Joseph. Her character represents innocence and moral purity. She also faces many problems and many struggles. She also was bothered by some of the men in the society who belongs to upper class, and she also had to run out of the circumstances. So let us go to the plot summary. So book 1, the briefing is, the novel begins with Joseph Andrews, a footman in the household of Lady Booby. Lady Booby, a wealthy, lascivious widow, attempts to seduce Joseph, but he resists her advances due to his virtuous nature and his love for Fanny Goodwill, a poor but beautiful girl from his village. Both of them are childhood friends. Angered by his rejection, Lady Booby dismisses Joseph from her service. That is a book 1 summary. And Joseph decides to run to his home parish to be with Fanny. On his journey, he is attacked by robbers, stripped off his clothes and left for dead. He is found by a kind-hearted woman and taken to an inn where people used to stay, like a hotel, where he is cared for by the host and hostess. Joseph's friend and mentor, Parson Adams, coincidentally arrives at the same inn and they set out together on their journey. So here, Joseph meets his mentor, Parson Adams. So second and third books. In second book, Joseph and Parson Adams meet many strange and funny characters and find themselves in silly and ridiculous situations as they travel. They encounter both good and bad people, showing the different sides of humanity. So humanity is an entity which combines both good and bad people. We cannot separate a person, good person and bad person. You cannot describe, define, or state a person is a good or bad. Based on the circumstances, based on their needs, situations, people will be changing. So that is clearly depicted in the novel. Parson Adams, a smart but clueless clergyman, brings the humor to the story with his deep thoughts and lack of awareness of everyday practical tasks. In book 3 of the story, Joseph and Adams encounter a man named Mr. Wilson who tells them about his own past mistakes and how he changed for the better. So, this Mr. Wilson acts as an message to the society that if you commit mistake, you need to repent. You have to come to God again by repentation to realize what we have done. So this serves as a moral lesson and deepens the theme of virtue in the novel. The two characters continue their journey, experiencing more challenges such as mix-ups, miscommunications, and close calls with danger. So they were robbed, they were stealed, they were brutally beaten by other people. So they faced many problems in their journey. And book 4, Joseph and Fanny are reunited and face a final challenge when Lady Booby tries to stop them from getting married. However, it is revealed that Joseph is actually the son of Mr. Wilson and therefore comes from a higher social background. So now both of them reaches the same house. There they face each other. Now they want to get married. So again, Lady Booby, she doesn't want them to get married. And at some point of time, it is revealed that both of them are siblings, brother and sister. They cannot marry. And finally, the character arrives, Mr. Wilson. Actually, Joseph is the son of Mr. Wilson and therefore comes from a higher social background, and they are not the real siblings, so they can marry. And they had thought this means that the social status is no longer a barrier to their union, allowing Joseph and Fanny to finally get married. The novel concludes with Joseph and Fanny's marriage, blessed by Parson Adams. The virtuous characters are rewarded, and the vices and follies of the other characters are exposed and punished, in keeping with the moral, satirical nature of the story. So finally, there is a happy ending that good is rewarded and the bad is judged. So themes and styles. Joseph Andrews is a satirical novel that critiques the moral and social hypocrisies of the time. So it is a perfect satire, how people behave, how richer class section used to exploit the young, naive men and women according to their whims and fancies. It employs a picaresque structure. Picaresque is a person who is, roaming in the countryside. That is picaresque. Picaresque nature, where the beauty of the countryside. And a lesson or a journey or a voyage of a person who would be roaming. So that is picaresque, with the protagonist encountering a wide array of characters and situations that reflect various aspects of the 18th century English society. So here, both all the characters, Wilson, Adams, Joseph Andrews, and that girl, all these persons are taking their journey. They are moving from place to place. They are encountering with many characters, both evil and good. And they have to face the life threats. Sometimes they are happy, sometimes they are bad, sometimes they are invited, sometimes they are rejected. They have to run, they have to escape. So all these elements are mixed in a very colorful manner, very interesting, yet they are realistic. They are not any imaginary or highly exaggerated way is exposed in the novel. They're very realistic and true. Fielding uses humor, irony, and parody to expose the flaws and vices of his characters. while also celebrating the virtues of honesty, charity, and integrity. Both are given equal importance. Next, Unit 13. Ode on Intimations of Immortality. This poem is by William Wordsworth. Second one, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by S.T. Coleridge. So, here comes our background, romantic poetry. Romantic means love. Love for nature. Love for new thing here. It is not the physical love. It is love for beauty, love for nature, and love for new things. Romantic poetry, a literary movement that began in the late 18th century and peaked in the early 19th century, is characterized by several distinct features. Let us observe. Emphasis on emotion and individualism. Emotions over reason. So reason became the bed of inventing science. Now again, humanity turned towards emotions. So first religion and then reason, next science, and after that you have industrial revolution. And during that industrial revolution, there are all these periods faced many wars, civil wars, war between the countries, war between the same religion people, and they had to face health issues, they had to face plagues, so many pandemics, peasant movements, religious wars. So now people are vexed. Industrialization came, science is at their hand. They are rich. Some people are rich, some part of the society, majority of the part of the society are rich. They are free now. So obviously, people turn towards emotions. They are pampering themselves. Humanity. Not reason, emotions were given importance. Individualism. All human has their own identity, being good or bad, being success or failure. They have their identity. So that has been exposed, that has been explored and described and developed through the characters. Nature as a source of inspiration. Romantic poetry took source from of nature. They took inspiration from nature. Romantic poets regard nature as a source of beauty, truth, and spiritual inspiration, often personifying it as a living being with its own soul. So, these romantic writers, they personified nature as a human. And the human has a soul, obviously, heart, emotions, feelings, and all that. They frequently write about vast, untamed, and awe-inspiring landscapes, highlighting the power and mystery of nature. Form and style. Lyrical poetry. They adopted lyrical poetry, experimentation with form, free verse. So they were dare to come out of that circle of some grammatical rules, rhyme schemes, and all that. They started writing in free verse. Imagination and creativity. Imagination is a powerful force. For creativity, leading to experiences beyond everyday reality and revealing deeper truths. Romantic poetry often includes supernatural elements, reflecting the poet's fascination with the mysterious aspects of the world, aspects of nature. What is nature holding for us? What lessons that we have to take from nature? What kind of beauty that we have to enjoy from the nature? What is the truth that is going to reveal if we observe the nature? So these things became interesting during this romantic era. Focus on the common man. Romantic poets often celebrate ordinary people's simplicity, innocence, and connection to nature as a reaction against society's industrialization and urbanization. So, what is the result of industrialization? People started moving from villages to towns. Cities have grown. The urbanization started rapidly and grown. It grown, fully grown. So cities became major cities and they became even metropolitans. So now the country beauty has been neglected. If you see the landscape, the nature which is present, particularly in British Islands, that the immense beauty, they are filled with aura, awesome. So people started neglecting. So now romantic poets take that into their consideration and they started writing on nature. Interest in the past. There is a strong interest in ancient myths, legends, and folklore, which are seen as repositories of collective human wisdom and imagination. So repositories, they are the reservoirs of tradition, culture, values, and all that. So our myth is nothing but mythology. Even though it is not true, sometimes it is fictitious, but it holds the cultural aspects, our traditions, our beliefs, our faiths, our pleasures, all that. So legends and folklore literature has been neglected by the dramatists and the novelists sometimes. So now the romantic poets started giving importance and they started exploring once again from the past. Rebellion against social and political norms. Critique of industrialization. Romantic poetry, main focus is on industrialization. To critique, it is not complete negation. Saying advantages, what are the advantages, what are the disadvantages. Social and political freedom. They talk about and they took the freedom and they talk about social and political freedom. Use of symbolism and imagery. They used much symbolism and imagery in their poems. Exploration of the self, introspection, melancholy, and solitude. Often the poet is alone, often he is sad, often he is happy because in solitude they enjoy the nature. Key romantic poets are William Wordsworth. He emphasized beauty and spiritual value of nature. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, S.T. Coleridge, known for his imaginative and supernatural themes. John Keats celebrated beauty, love, and the transience of life. P.B. Shelley advocated for radical social change and explored the sublime. Lord Byron, known for his passionate and rebellious persona. Romantic poetry is characterized by its emphasis on emotion, nature, imagination, individualism, and a critique of contemporary society. It values personal expression and exploring the human spirit, often through rich symbolism and vivid imagery. So they acted as a criticism. Through imagination, individualism, they started exploring, they started expressing their views, ideas directly on the contemporary society. So our poem is William Wordsworth's poem. William Wordsworth was a prominent English romantic poet who played a pivotal role in launching the Romantic Age in English literature. Alongside S.T. Coleridge, he co-authored the influential collection Lyrical Ballads in 1798. Both of them together wrote Lyrical Ballads, which is very popular. It is a collection of poems. This collaborative work marked a significant departure from traditional poetic forms and themes because most of them are lyrical ballads. Wordsworth's magnum opus, The Prelude, is a semi-autobiographical poem that he revised and expanded throughout his life. His tenure as poet laureate from 1843 until his death further solidified his literary legacy. So he was appointed as poet laureate. Ode on Intimations of Immortality. This is our poem by Wordsworth. So what is an ode? An ode is a type of lyrical poetry that originated in ancient Greece. These elaborately structured poems praise or glorify an event, individual or nature. So basically, odes are written to appreciate one thing, any person, event, thing, or nature. So now, this is an ode by William Wordsworth. The poem is divided into 11 stanzas, each exploring different aspects of the poet's reflections on childhood, memory, and the loss and recovery of a sense of divine wonder. First stanza, it discusses about the theme of loss, where poet says that he lost the sense of wonder and that honest. So he feels bad that he is unable to bring happiness from his heart by seeing the nature. So as a child, he used to take pleasure by seeing the nature, but now he's unable to enjoy the nature. So now poet is feeling very bad about it. And in second stanza, he says that despite of the loss, the poet asserts the moments of transcendent joy and a sense of divine presence that is still occasionally break through. So he feels even though he is not able to enjoy like a child as he enjoyed in the childhood, but a sense of, that spirit intervention is there. So now he is feeling that aura. And in the third stanza, he says nostalgia for childhood. The poet reminiscences about his intense, almost mystical connection with the nature as a child. So he is remembering the past. That is called reminiscences. So his reminiscences, so he remembers them, he enjoys how he enjoyed, he describes in this stanza. He reflects on how, as children, we see the world with fresh eyes and an unmediated sense of wonder. So, so there is no disturbance. Okay, everything is fresh, everything is beautiful, everything is to our astonishment. Kids watches everything, right? Kids watches everything with awe on their eyes. They're quite curious to know each and everything. They enjoy each and every small thing in the nature. So poet feels bad about our growth because we are missing this innocence and pleasure. So in stanza 4, philosophical reflection, Wordsworth introduces the idea that children are closer to a divine state, suggesting that their joy and perception are echoes of a pre-existence, a time when the soul was in harmony with a higher spiritual reality. So children are in divine state. They are very close because they are not polluted. They are not mature with worldly things. So they're pure, they're naive, and they're divine because they are close to the nature. So they can enjoy nature. They can take pleasure. They respond to the nature. And in stanza 5, he talks about the life journey, childhood, adulthood, and old age. The poet discusses the journey from childhood to adulthood, nothing that as we grow, we become more absorbed in worldly concerns and lose touch with the spiritual insights of our youth. So when we are young, we have a connection with nature. When we are slowly growing, we are slowly moving into the worldly things and we lose connection with divine spirit. So nature is connected with divine spirit. Nature has that divine elements, that divineness. So once we are slowly departing from the nature, so we are becoming worldly. So that is our growth. So that is our journey. So he says a child as a seer. Seer is a prophet who can foresee things. So he says, child as a seer. Wordsworth portrays the child as a mighty prophet. So who is a prophet? Who can see the future, who retains a memory of the divine, even if adults lose this vision over time. Children, in their purity and innocence, have an intuitive understanding of life's deeper meanings. So, children, even though they cannot explain, even though they cannot describe, they have that intuition ability, that intuitive ability to understand very deeper meanings. So, next stanza, material distractions. The poet notes that as people grow older, they become increasingly distracted by material concerns and social expectations, which obscure the spiritual truths they once knew as children. So, material distractions are spoiling youth. When we are growing older, we are getting so many material distractions from this world. Nature's consolation. Despite the loss of childhood's visionary gleam, nature still offers consolation and can inspire moments of profound joy and insight. Nature remains a source of spiritual renewal and emotional healing. So even though he says, don't worry, even though you are losing all this, nature is ready always because he is God. Nature is God. So nature, it is a source, never-ending source. It offers unlimited opportunities, ideas, solace, so that man can take spiritual renewal and emotional healing from nature. That means nature acts as a doctor to console our problems. Stanza 9. Continuity of the soul. Wordsworth suggests that the soul's journey continues beyond this life, hinting at the immortality of the soul. He says, nature is like soul. So soul is immortal. What is mortal? Man is mortal. Means man is to die. Mortal, which has death. Immortal, which doesn't has death, which never dies. So soul is immortal. Like that, nature is also immortal. This belief provides comfort and a sense of continuity, connecting past, present, and future. Even though we die, we are connected with the nature. Our soul is connected with the nature. So it can go into the past, present, and future. So soul never dies. That means that is immortality, intimations of immortality. The title itself is Intimations of Immortality. So he is giving the details and the close connection about the immortality, the state of immortality. So next stanza is gratitude for memory. The poet expresses gratitude for the power of memory, allowing him to recall his youth's spiritual insights and joys. Now he is feeling happy and he is very thankful that he could recall his past. These memories sustain him and provide a sense of continuity and connection to the divine. So why he is very happy and thankful, why he is expressing his gratitude is that through this memory power, so that he can recall his spiritual insight and now he is feeling that he's continuing his relationship and connection with the divine. So next stanza, hope and resolution. The poem concludes on a hopeful note, with the poet affirming his belief in the enduring power of nature and the soul's immortality. So now he concludes with a hope that there should not be any loss of connection between the soul and nature, so that both of them, both nature and soul, becomes immortal by uniting. He finds a solace, means comfort, in the idea that moments of transcendent joy and insight are still possible even in adulthood. So no need to go back to childhood. Okay. So if you are ready, if you are able to observe, take the pleasure from the nature, take inspiration and solace, then you are again reconnected to the divine spirit. So he's expressing his joy so that he would continue his connection with nature so that he could become immortal. So themes to be explored is childhood and innocence. No doubt the poem explores children's special connection with nature and divine. Memory and nostalgia. So he talks about memory and nostalgia, that he tries to remember the past experiences, that is nostalgia. Nature and the divine. Nature is portrayed as a source of spiritual inspiration and consolation. So the poem deals with the loss of the intense spiritual vision of childhood. This is another theme. Style and structure of ode. The poem is written as an ode with a formal structure and elevated language. Next poem, S.T. Coleridge. Samuel Taylor Coleridge, another romantic poet. So he's a critic, philosopher, and theologian. So that's why he portrays symbols and images more spiritually. He uses very terrific and deeper meanings, images. He played a pivotal role in the Romantic movement in England and was a member of the Lake Poets alongside his friend William Wordsworth. Notable works, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner, a haunting narrative poem that explores themes of guilt, redemption, and the supernatural. Kubla Khan, a fragmentary poem inspired by a dream, vividly describing an otherworldly palace. So it is about another world. Biographia Literaria, which is a magnum opus of S.T. Coleridge, a major prose work. Coleridge discusses his literary theories and influences. So his influence were William Shakespeare, and he introduced German idealist philosophy to English-speaking cultures. That is, what is German idealist philosophy is empiricism and reason. That means you have to observe, you have to learn. And based on the reason, you have to learn. So both are two opposite theories, but here Coleridge mixes and he wants to take ideas from both the theories. And he introduced that to English-speaking cultures. And challenges throughout his life, Coleridge battled anxiety, depression, and physical health issues. His opium addiction further complicated his personal struggles. So he was a drug addict to opium. Because of this anxiety and depression, he got used to take this opium. Due to this, his health deteriorated. So after his death, Coleridge gained esteem as one of the most influential figures in English literature. Organizations like the Church of England celebrate him during events like Coleridge Day. So a day has been dedicated to Coleridge in the Church of England. So our poem, The Rime of the Ancient Mariner. The Rime of the Ancient Mariner by Samuel Taylor Coleridge is a narrative-driven ballad that recounts the harrowing journey of an anonymous mariner. So here a mariner is there. So he goes on a voyage and he comes back and he becomes alone. He's the only survivor on the ship. He comes back and he'll be narrating his story, what has happened in his journey on the sea to all the visitors. A marriage is taking place and he's stopping each and every visitor and he's narrating his story. So the poem begins with the ancient mariner stopping a wedding guest to tell his tale. The mariner recounts how his ship sailed past the equator, encountered storms near the South Pole, and then returned to the tropical Pacific Ocean. So he stops each and every visitor and is now trying to explain his story. And he warns that don't go for such voyage, don't do such things, what he has done on the ship, in the ship. So there is another one, that is albatross. The crew encounters an albatross, which they view as a good omen. So now they are going. The story is, the poem is about they are on a voyage. So now they see albatross. So this ancient mariner, he kills the albatross without any reason. So nobody knows why he suddenly kills the bird. So initially the crew is furious. The crew is very angry because they believe that albatross is a good sign. But now this mariner killed that bird without any reason. But after killing that bird, the fog which is over there, that clears. So they believe that killing was justified. So they think that it's okay because he killed the bird, nothing has happened, and it is clearing the way. And after that, what happens is again the situations worsens, and the cold waves increases, and the ship becomes trapped. That means everything is frozen. The ship doesn't move. It couldn't move. There is no water. There is no food, and they cannot talk. Even they cannot move. Everybody in the ship dies except mariner. So this is the situation. And now he is alone thinking about his deeds. So he is saying the third stanza, and the crew grows increasingly thirsty. There is no water, even though they are in the sea. So at this point, he says, water, water everywhere, not a drink, not a drop to drink. So he says that everything they could see is what all they could see is just water, but they cannot drink the ocean water. And even if they want to drink the water, it is frozen sea. So they are thirsty, they are hungry. Okay, their senses are not working, their bodies are not moving. This is the situation. The mariner sees a ghostly ship where death and life in death gamble for their lives. So now the mariner couldn't see, just he's couldn't move, just he is observing. He could see another ship. Okay, where two things are gambling. They are playing the game. What is that? Life in death. One is life in death. Second one is death in life. They are playing the game. Life in death wins the mariner's soul. So life in death, it wins the mariner's soul. That is his imagination, just he is thinking. Reproach and redemption. The crew dies of thirst, staring at the mariner in reproach. Cursed, he tries to pray but fails. So now all are watching at him because he's the person who created all these things in their view, that he killed the albatross. That's why nature stopped helping them. Nature is taking revenge. Nature is giving punishment. So now he started thinking and he feels cursed, and now he is repenting. The poem is a moral allegory about sin, redemption, and supernatural forces. If you would like, so it is saying that here you can discuss themes of guilt and redemption. In the Rime of the Ancient Mariner, Coleridge masterfully explores guilt and redemption through the mariner's tumultuous voyage. Guilt. The mariner's impulsive act of shooting the albatross brings immense guilt. He violates nature's harmony and disturbs the cosmic order. Without any reason, he killed that bird. That means that is a sin. So you cannot disturb, you cannot violate an order given by nature as well as God. The crew's death serves as a haunting reminder of his sin. So now the crew died. So it is a haunting remembrance. Every time he sees that dead bodies around him, he feels guilt. Their reproachful eyes symbolize collective guilt. All of them are watching him, and it is in a collective reproach. The mariner's isolation on the ship mirrors his internal isolation due to guilt. So he is seeing, he could see another ship, right? That is nothing but he is thinking, I mean, his his inside ideas. He is feeling guilt inside. He's feeling guilty. So that's why he could see another ship, who is winning, what is happening, like that, and redemption. So now, after realizing what is next, he has to repent. The mariner's penance begins when he blesses the water snakes, appreciating their beauty. This act of love and connecting initiates his redemption. Earlier, when he sees the creatures, water snakes, he curses, he chides, and he feels a little bit of hatredness towards them without any reason. But now he repented and he is feeling guilty. So now when he sees this water snakes, he says he appreciates the beauty and the innocence of water creatures. So now that is an act of redemption. His spiritual awakening occurs when he sees the beauty in all creation. So he could see beauty in each and every creation of God, even the slimy things, even the things which are not appeared beautiful. The mariner's compulsion to share his tale with others becomes his mission, a way to redeem himself by warning others against similar sins. So now why he is stopping each and every guest and he is trying to say? That is, he is preaching the thing that he wants to share the news that don't do the sinful activities, deeds. Even though you do, try to take penance, that you need to take repentance and you need to take redemption from God. In this journey, guilt and redemption intervene, emphasizing the transformative power of and compassion. So here you have famous lines from this poem. You may be asked questions like this. Explain these lines like that. Water, water everywhere, nor any drop to drink. These lines describe the desperate situation of the sailors at a stranded sea, surrounded by salt water they cannot drink. He prayeth best who loveth best. All things both great and small, for the dear God who loveth us. He made and loveth all. These lines emphasize the poem's moral message about the reverence for and respect for creation, either good, big or small. Instead of the cross, the albatross about my neck was hung. This metaphorical line symbolizes the mariner's burden and guilt after killing the albatross. So like cross, albatross is hanging around the neck of the mariner. So it symbolizes his guilt, likening it to a heavy burden like the cross. He thinks that albatross is like a cross. Day after day, we stuck. Not breathe, nor motion. We couldn't breathe, we couldn't move. As idle as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. So it's a famous quotation, as a painted ship upon a painted ocean. These lines vividly convey the stagnant and oppressive atmosphere of the becalmed ship, emphasizing the crew's helpless situation. They cannot move. It is a painted ship because ship is not moving. It is a painted sea because even there is no water, everything is frozen. And here we goes. 14th unit, Ode to Autumn by John Skeet, Ode to West Wind by P.B. Shelley. So John Keats is another romantic poet. You can go through your textbook. That is more than enough. Everything is clearly explained. I'm just touching upon the points which are important. Notable works, Ode to Nightingale, and Grecian urn, Endymion influences or his technical intellectual achievements continue to resonate in the 20th century. That is, he influenced the upcoming writers. So philosophical aspirations, he sought to express profound ideas through classical legends and natural imagery. So Ode to Autumn. Now, he's praising autumn. He's talking about autumn, the season autumn. So obviously, after autumn, the winter season comes. It is not spring, summer. So in this season, you cannot expect any beauty in the nature. So everything seems to be dry, dead, and all that, with dead leaves and all that. Winds are quite terrible. So he's talking about the situations and the philosophical meanings behind autumn season. It's a famous poem written by John Keats, and it is considered one of the finest achievements of romantic poetry, celebrated for its vivid imagery, rich sensory detail, and profound meditation on the cycle of life. We have been reading this our childhood. So summary, in the poem's first stanza, Keats describes autumn as a person. So he personified. It is the most common feature of romantic poetry. They describe season, nature as a person. So here autumn is a person and talks about how it arrives with the sun becoming stronger and fruits getting ready to be harvested. So he uses sensory details like the sun conspiring with the vines and apples, bending with ripeness to create vivid images in the reader's mind. So he says autumn is like a person, he's coming like a sun, and the fruits are ready and they are yet ready to be harvested. That means they are ready to be plucked. In the poem, Keats describes the activities and the work of the autumn season. The beauty, what is the work taken in the countryside, and how people work, what is the work done, and he describes, such as harvesting crops and the singing of reapers. So it is quite common in the every village, whatever the country. Even in our India also, when people are working in the fields, they used to hum, they sing songs and all that. So here you can sing the songs of the reapers while harvesting the crops. He also personifies autumn by describing it as sitting carelessly, being asleep, and watching the cider presses, giving it human-like qualities. So now the autumn is a person. It is enjoying, okay, it is sitting carelessly like a child, and it is sometimes it is sleeping, it is getting up, means the climate has been changing, and watching the cider presses where you put all the apples and take the juice of oil, and of all these presses, oil pressers, juice pressers, and it is talking about the work which is being done in the autumn season. In this stanza, next stanza, the poet describes the abundance of fruits that can be found during autumn. So it is talking about the abundance of fruits which are available. What is the work? Such as swelling grapes and grounds that are getting plump. So gourds which are becoming plumpy, and swelling grapes that which are becoming ripening. The imagery created by the poet shows a scene of vines heavy with grapes and round gourds. You can see vines, grape vines and all that, highlighting the richness and fullness of the autumn landscape. The vivid description helps to evoke the sights and flavors of the season. In the poem, Keats talks about the various sounds of autumn, such as the bleating of lambs, the singing of crickets, and the twittering of swallows. This creates a feeling of calm and contentment as nature gets ready for winter. So now nature is becoming um, uh, ready, because in winter you cannot see anything. As I already told you, so almost everything is dead. It seems the trees, the nature, because particularly at that area, it is frozen. Trees, homes, the nature, everything is just stuck with the frozen ice. So now, why it is silent? Because it is getting ready for the winter. So next poem is P.B. Shelley's poem. So he is a British writer and a major figure in English romantic poetry. Although he didn't achieve fame during this lifetime, recognition of his achievements grew steadily after his death. His influence extended to subsequent generations of poets, including Robert Browning and W.B. Yeats and Thomas Hardy. So later, after his death, he became popular. Shelley's poetic imagery, mastery of genres, and interplay of skeptical, idealistic, and materialistic ideas have garnered critical acclaim. So he's a poetic critic also. Some of his best-known works include Ozymandias, Ode to the West Wind, and To a Skylark. His life was marked by family crisis, ill health, and a backlash against his atheism and political views. So he supported atheism, and so obviously he faced many problems because of his political views and all that. And he died tragically in a boating accident at the age of 29. He died very young. Ode to the West Wind is a poem written by P.B. Shelley, and it is one of Shelley's best-known works and exemplifies romantic poetry's themes of nature, revolution, and the power of the imagination. You have all the elements. You have the themes from nature, you have revolution, and you have power of imagination. So stanza 1. So he invocates the wind, invocation of the wind. Shelley addresses the west wind as a powerful force of nature and compares it to both a destroyer and a preserver. Now he's calling west wind. He's personifying west wind. What is he saying? It has both the powers. It is able to destroy and it is the ability to preserve the nature also. And the wind is described as a wild spirit, symbolizing both nature's creative and destructive aspects. So he's talking about two. The wind can destroy and the wind can preserve. How it preserves, he further explains. So he comparisons to a destroyer. Shelley depicts the wind as a scattering dead leaves and driving away storm clouds, symbolizing its ability to bring change and renewal. So now the wind is scattering the dead leaves. And second is, and it is clearing the clouds also. So it has the ability to change as well as renewal, giving new birth. So personal appeal. The poet uses the wind to lift him as a leaf and scatter his thoughts worldwide. Now he is requesting the west wind so that you can lift me like a dead leaf. Okay. And scatter me throughout the worldwide. That means scatter my ideas. Next answer, comparison to a preserver. Now he is saying, first he is a comparison to destroying, and now it is a preserver, conservation. Shelley contrasts the destructive force of the wind with its nurturing power, describing how it carries seeds and fertilizes the earth. It not only carries and scatters the leaves, dead leaves, and it is able to carry the seeds and also. Symbolism. The wind symbolizes inspiration and creative power, which can awaken dormant ideas and bring about change. So here the wind symbolizes inspiration and it has the creative power. Next stanza, reflection on the poet's state. Shelley reflects on his stagnant state and compares himself to a lyre waiting to be played with the wind. So he is comparing himself as a harp, musical instrument. So it is asking, come and play me. So he wants to be transformed. And in the next stanza, he talks about political allegory also. Shelley compares the wind to a trumpet that signals the coming of the change and a revolution. So now he wants to play the music on the harp and it wants to bring a new change. So he is expecting freedom, hope for freedom. He expresses hope that the wind will bring about social and political liberation, sweeping away tyranny and oppression. And the last stanza, he talks about meditation on death and renewal. The poem concludes with Shelley contemplating the critical nature of life and death, using the image of the wind to symbolize the eternal cycle of creation, destruction, and renewal. So it is a endless cycle, creation, destruction, and renewal. So it is an endless process. It continues, it never ends. So final vocation, he again appeals to the west wind to scatter his words like ashes and sparks, ensuring his ideas endure beyond his life. So he is now requesting west wind again in the end part of the poem, concludes the poem, that scatter my words throughout the world and my ashes also. That means after my death, okay, so he is requesting the wind, even after my death, please dissipate my ideas throughout the world. The themes are power of nature, inspiration and creativity, political and social change, and the cyclical nature of life. So, Ode to the West Wind is a powerful exploration of nature's forces, the poet's roles in society, and the transformative power of personal and political change. It remains a significant work in romantic poetry. So, it is a powerful exploration. We are talking about the poem, so it is about nature force. Poet concludes that the nature has the power to destroy, the power to create. Likewise, a poet also has the power. He can break the society, he can make the society with his pen, with his writings, with his information, instruction. So he's saying, he's asking that change, transformative power of personal and political change. He is expecting, he is hoping for that change. It remains a significant work in romantic poetry for its lyrical beauty, philosophical depth, and passionate advocacy for freedom and creativity. So with this, we are done with the 14th unit. And the last unit is Dream Children and Old China. Both are the essays by Charles Lamb. So Charles Lamb is a notable writer. Okay. His essays are quite popular. He can write satires and he's a very good writer. He's renowned for his good writer, his writings. So Charles Lamb was an English essayist, poet, and antiquarian. Antiquarian means who loves antique things, old things, books, monuments, and all that. Best known for his essays under the pseudonym Elia. So his pen name is Elia. Here is an overview of his life and literary contributions, early life and education, birth and family. So there is not much about his birth and family. Charles Lamb was born on February 10, 1775 in London, England. He was the youngest child of John Lamb, a clerk at the Southsea House, and Elizabeth Lamb. Education. Lamb attended Christ Hospital School and formed a lifelong friendship with Sam St. Coleridge. Both of them are school friends. He later worked as a clerk at the East India Company. So, literary career, essays under the pseudonym Elia. Lamb's most enduring work is his collection of essays, which he began writing under the pseudonym Elia in 1820. So there are some collections of the essays which are very popular. They are called Essays of Elia, which he began writing under the pseudonym. These essays were published in various periodicals such as London Magazine. They were published also in magazine. Style and themes. Lamb's essays are characterized by their personal tone, wit, and charm. He often explored themes of everyday life, humor, nostalgia, and the quirks of human behavior. His essays are noted for their unique blend of humor and pathos. Notable works includes Essays of Elia, Tales from Shakespeare, and poetry. So he wrote poetry. And his poem, The Old Familiar Faces, is one most famous one. So coming to his personal life, family tragedy is there. So it's a very tragic incident happened in Lamb's life. Lamb had a challenging personal life marked by tragedy. In 1796, his sister Mary, who struggled with mental illness, fatally stabbed their mother during a period of insanity. Mary was declared insane and spent time in a mental institution, but Lamb took responsibility for her care and they lived together for much of their lives. So he did not leave his sister. He brought back his sister and he started living with his sister. Lamb retired from the East India Company in 1825 and devoted himself to his writing. He suffered from periods of depression and health issues throughout his life. Even Charles Lamb is also not healthy and he also suffered with illness, mental illness also. So literary influence, Charles Lamb is celebrated for his distinctive literary style and contribution to developing the English essay as a form of personal experience. You can say the developer, the master of English essay. Critical reception. His essays continue to be admired for their wit, insight into human nature, and their ability to capture the spirit of early 19th century London. So his, uh, uh, his critical essays are quite popular. Charles Lamb's work remains beloved for its humanity, humor, and keen observation of everyday life, establishing him as a significant figure in English literature and essay writing. So only our two essays are remaining. Tomorrow, I think we can continue with them. Okay. So as of now, the time is finished and we can conclude our class. But very few members have joined. I don't know why. Okay. Okay, then we'll meet you tomorrow and have a nice day.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ma'am.
Please share the slides. Hello? Hello? ಆರತಿಗೆ ಪಾಪ